here's a better way to buy and sell a house. And this is the way to do it. Like, why would you not do this?
And so we are at the Reali office, and I'm joined by two awesome real estate professionals. Well, you guys be more tech people. I guess we can dive into that. But I have Ron Lacerna, who is the area manager, and I have the Reali CEO, which is Tyler Baldwin. Thank you guys both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So I want to just quickly give some context to our viewers. What's a quick origin story about each of you, and how did you each get into real estate? Maybe Ron, we'll start with you.
Wow. It's back when I lived in the East Bay. I used to, work for a company, video game company called Funco Land and GameStop, and found my calling in sales, helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I had met a couple of friends who were in the loan business, and they would show me their checks, right, how much money they would make. And I said, I want to get into that as well too. So I did actually start off in loans, but gravitated to real estate instead. And that was about maybe 17 years ago.
Okay. Nice. Now you've been in it ever since.
Yeah.
All right. And then Tyler, what about you?
Yeah. So I started my career in management consulting and working with tech companies on their sales and marketing growth strategy, and then spent multiple places multiple stops at LinkedIn, at Pinterest, and a lot of different like tech companies, and never had been actually a practitioner of real estate, but had bought a house, sold a house, and then bought a house again. And when I was looking to leave LinkedIn a few years ago to join like the startup, I met the founder of Reali, and in my personal experiences of buying and selling a home, I realized, wow, this is like really broken. And there's a lot of things that I took for granted in tech.
Yeah.
That if you just implemented a few of these things that we do in these other industries, there's a lot of opportunity to make a better consumer experience. So it's essentially how I migrated here.
So it seems like you teed up the next question perfectly then. So
Awesome.
what is Reali? What do you guys do? Why is it different?
Sure. So I can take that. So we're essentially a one-stop shop to help home buyers and sellers find the home of their dreams. And that's not very easy to do. There's a lot of challenges. There's fragmentation in the industry. The experience is not set up for the consumer. And I'm happy to go into that if you want me to. There's a leading question there, but like you tell me if you want me to go there.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot about like the experience that has not been designed for the customer.
Okay.
And that's essentially our mission, is to like actually make a better home buying and selling experience for the consumer.
Okay. Awesome. Maybe I'll pitch this one to Ron then. So in terms of pain points for the consumer, like what is the usual home buying experience, and why does it suck?
Well, especially when it comes to our product, our buy before you sell product, the pain points come from spending a lot of time touring homes, looking at homes, only to find out that, your offer may not win. So you have to spend a lot of time looking for homes and maybe falling in love with the home and not winning it because you don't have the financial power to do so. All right. So that's one pain point I think we solve with our product.
Wait, so can I dive in a little more? So why are they losing then?
The offer they write is maybe contingent, and you're going against offers that are either non-contingent or fully cash or higher, close quicker.
Okay. And then to break it down, like I'm 10, what does contingent mean and all that?
So contingent means you write an offer saying, hey, offer this, but, right, certain things have to happen.
Okay.
You have to be able to get a loan. It has to appraise, right? I have to look at the inspections first, right?
So in the usual home buying experience, whether the house is, having contingencies based on their financings on the loan that they can get, based on the inspection and what comes back from that in that report, and a million other different things that can fall through the cracks along the way, as you alluded to. I guess maybe, Tyler, your personal experience of buying a house, what was kind of the two memorable, like, man, this is not as easy as I thought it should be?
That's a great question. So I think that the first part is just the number of people who get involved in the transaction. Like you work with an agent, but it's not just an agent. There's like this whole industry of people. And so on average, the buy and sell a home, which most people are actually buying and selling. So when I bought like my last transaction, I was buying and selling at the same time. 255 steps in that process over on average a 6-month period of time. And you're interacting with 20 different people across the buying agent, the selling agent, loans, title, escrow. They all have assistants. Then there's home insurance, there's home warranty. And me personally, I remember, even though I had great agents, I felt like I was still like going around like with my head cut off, getting bounced around from one person to the next and the next. And Not really. And all these folks are trying to do their best,
Mhm.
but they're not set up to succeed or to help the consumer navigate the process because it's just completely fragmented process. There's
Mhm.
regulations, there's all these things. So that's like one of the, in addition to the market dynamics that like Ron talked about, where you have, it's hard to get into the contract when you have all these multiple offers.
Mhm.
Even if you like, let's say we put away that and you went into, it was just a transaction that's, there's aren't crazy offers. It's just a really complicated process.
Mhm.
And the industry has not been set up to like Uber. I want to just,
Yeah.
I want to go from point A to point B. I would just want to move from point A to point B. It's far more complicated than that. And by the way, more complicated than it needs to be.
Oh, definitely. And I think investors can feel the pain, as they're going through every single one of these transactions. A lot of the investors I know, including myself, now that you have multiple investment properties, you try and get a loan on your next one. Now you're pulling mortgage docs,
Yeah.
lease docs, all of these HUDs just from every single one. And yes, it is completely first world problems. I understand, but it does create speed bumps that makes the experience not so fun.
And it's not adding value to the process either.
No.
So it's like all this friction. It's like these speed bumps. You just keep hitting over and
Yeah.
over again. It's not adding, right? Like friction's okay if it's actually like adding value, but
Mhm.
here it's actually not. It just, because the industry is so antiquated.
Yes. Okay. So from then a consumer perspective, how did you solve just that entire process? What is so different about Really that makes that simplified?
Yeah. So I think there. So first of all, it's acknowledging that uh, the process, that 255 steps and all of these different stakeholders, putting all of that in one shop. So we have vertically integrated. So we have internally, we have agents
Mm-hmm.
who hang their license with Reali.
Mm-hmm.
We bought a mortgage company a few years ago and we originate loans. We just don't broker them out, we originate them. We
Okay.
have an escrow company. We have a title partnership. We have internal transaction coordination, internal listing coordination. We have a property buying team that will buy homes on behalf of our customers. We have a property management team to manage those houses because we actually rent them back. There's all these elements to the transaction that we have centralized
Mm-hmm.
into a single like company so
Yeah.
that you as the consumer can just interact with us. And we built a technology platform that enables these folks to communicate with each other. Because the typical experience, and I actually distinctly remember this, the last house I bought, I asked that the house was in contract. I go to the agent and say, hey, what's the status of the loan? And he's like, I don't know. Go talk to your loan officer. He said it much more nicely than that. But
Yeah.
he's like, you should need to go talk to the loan officer. I go talk to the loan officer and I say, hey, what's the status? And I said, actually, you need to go talk to escrow. So what happens is I was the quarterback. I was actually like bouncing around trying to figure out the answer. And because there's this, I had some contingencies I had to release and I had to make sure I was like ready to do that. And it's just really tough. So for us, like we have all of the stakeholders in the transaction
Yeah.
in-house, and they're all together. So we can actually like simplify that process for the consumer. In addition to actually adding this like the cash power to like win in a very supply constrained market.
And that is another point that I want to talk to because I had some key questions about the all cash offer process, but kind of just circle back to what the customer experience is like. And I remember doing the exact same thing. Like, hey, we're closing on this house in 2 weeks, right? Are we good to go? Did it appraise? What did it appraise
That's
for?
right.
Oh, the appraiser couldn't get into the house. What do you mean the appraiser couldn't get into the house? And so from a buyer perspective or from the consumer perspective, and maybe for Ron, what does that app or that tech project look like? Like, will that now uncover everything, or as a consumer, what do I see?
Well, the app allows you to search for homes, right? And it's
Mhm.
a direct connect to our tour coordinator team, right? So one of the things you can do in the app is search.
Yeah.
You could select the home you want to see, click schedule a tour, and our tour coordinator team that works on the back end will schedule a tour for you. You can also use that same team to request disclosures, request a on-the-spot valuation report. So it makes that whole process a whole lot easier. And there's a chat feature in the app as well, too. It gives you that same direct connection to that same team that can answer those same kind of questions.
So this is the hub where all documentation flows through. I'm not having to peer through a million different emails, find the thread from XYZ lender about anything
Well,
else.
it's a communication conduit, if you will,
Okay.
right? You can find the valuation report there, but the communication is all there. But the nice thing about us, right, we're not just like heavy on the tech. you got people like me on the touch side. So if you do need that information, you'll come to me to get some extra information.
Gotcha.
And some of like what we are building, I mean, Rome was not built in a day, neither was Relay. So we're going to be like building out that repository
Hmm.
where people can, here's all the documents. Here is every single person can communicate with each other, the consumer, the agent, because a lot of times in these transactions, the communication between the stakeholders,
Hmm.
the loan officer, the agent, the escrow officer is just as important as the communication with the consumer.
Yeah.
Because that's the team that
Hmm.
has to solve the problem for the consumer,
Hmm.
but they're not talking and they're not communicating and they don't know what's going on. So the ability is, hey, our agent should be able to go in and see what the status of the loan is, or what
Hmm.
has the appraisal been ordered, and like because usually the agent gets asked that, but the agent isn't actually
They have
ordering
no
that.
idea.
They have no idea. But so it's like, hey, yeah, here's the status. Like so that's like what we're working to build, and we have like some of these things at various stages. But like that's
Okay.
the goal, is to make it just a much more seamless experience.
That would just be, from just a pure project management standpoint of buying a house,
Yeah,
you would think that it would already be that easy, but it's not.
no,
So,
it's not.
okay. And just in terms of background of how long Really has been in business, maybe how many transaction or sales volume do you guys do annually or in total?
Sure. Yeah, so we were founded in 2016 by Amit Haller, who's the founder and former CEO. I took over as CEO about a year ago, and he actually started in real estate. Tech entrepreneur,
Hmm.
multiple tech startups. In 2008, retired from tech, and 2009 got into real estate investing,
Okay.
which is a pretty good time to be in real estate investing.
Yeah.
Like that's buy low, right? So
Yeah.
he started investing, flipping, bought a lot of homes in the Central Valley, flipped them, and in the process of doing hundreds or thousands of transactions, realized, wow, not like the process is pretty broken. And his entrepreneurism, his tech experience, out of that, like the problem and his experience,
Hmm.
really 1.0 essentially was born, which is essentially the goal of how do you streamline the home buying experience?
Hmm.
And the original thought process is, hey, there's a lot of customers find homes. They do a lot of the work themselves
Hmm.
on Zillow, Redfin,
Hmm.
and then they need support in the transaction.
Hmm.
So the initial version of Really was just really focused on the transaction, try to make that as smooth as possible for the customer. How do you actually make a better home buying experience and make it more accessible, less stress-free? Since then, we've broadened our scope
Yeah.
as we've understood, hey, it's not just about making the transaction smooth, but it's how do you actually help people win the offer? How do you
Yeah.
help them roll their equity? There's other things so our product offerings have evolved, but from the very beginning, it was around how do you solve this for the consumer? And actually just our goal is how do you
Hmm.
delight somebody in the process? Not
Yeah.
even just like make it okay, but like we actually want to delight somebody.
Yeah. So right now, in terms of how many, I guess, size of the company, right? So how many agents does your team have? What's the transaction volumes? How many homes are you guys moving through a year? What does that look like?
So my team is composed of 8 agents right now, but all of NorCal, we have 29
Okay.
agents.
Just in
And
NorCal.
down in Southern California, we have over 100 agents.
Okay.
So combined, and then we have others, but in total, we have about 150 agents
Okay.
in California.
And then how many transactions do you guys say that kind of on average you guys are doing right now?
I mean, we've since inception, we've done thousands of transactions, and this year we'll do over 1,000 transactions.
Wow. Very cool. And so going back to another thing that you mentioned earlier was an all cash offer. When your marketing team said, hey, would you ever want to do a project together?
Hmm.
And one of the selling points that we initially jumped on, that I heard about on an intro call, was we can do an all cash offer. I thought, okay, that was interesting. I was just closed on a couple of some flip properties that I had using hard money. And a lot of people say that hard money loan products are cash offers, but
Hmm.
eh,
It's
kind of.
debatable.
Yeah. But is yours truly an all cash offer, or is it a hard money offer? Or like, what is all cash?
Sure. So I can take that. So, and we've had different iterations of this just candidly over like the life of our products and
Of course.
services. And we started off with a hard money,
Okay.
but right now we actually have an all cash offer where we will buy the home on behalf of the consumer. So we will work with them pre-approve them, figure out based on their assets, their income,
Mhm.
and in some cases have an existing home, the equity in their existing home. What's their purchase power? And then have them start to shop with one of our agents. So Ron or somebody on his team, you go find the house.
Mhm.
Well, again, we'll support you. You decide the purchase price. We'll make sure it like actually foots, right?
Mhm.
We'll do our own comps and whatnot, and we have our different valuation models. But assuming we agree on a price, then we'll actually make the offer on your behalf. Once that offer is accepted, we will we close on it and we put cash. And we have institutional lines of credit.
Mhm.
We've raised lots of debt where we can like essentially a revolver
Mhm.
where we can actually cut a check and
Okay.
close it in all
So
cash.
you guys are closing the house. Let's just run the scenario. I want to upgrade my current primary
Sure.
house to something else, right? And I'm talking to you or one of your agents, Ron. So
Mhm.
what does that look like? And I want to do this all cash thing. The
Mhm.
first step
Mhm.
would be to,
Well, first we figure out what are you gonna do with that one that you have right now. Are you gonna hang on to it?
and so we
And
figure out
just
if I want to sell it or not,
correct, because
what
then
market I want to buy in.
well, because if you wanna hang on to it or sell it, it's gonna help determine what kind of product
Okay.
you would wanna use,
Okay.
right?
So let's just say I want to sell it.
You wanna sell it,
Yeah.
right? Do you need the equity right now to buy your new home?
Yes.
You would need it.
Well, and I guess maybe just to clarify, why would most people need to sell their house that they're living in first to then buy the next?
Got it. So that's the other part when we were talking about contingencies earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So typically, if you own a home right now,
Mm-hmm.
right, but you need to sell it to get the proceeds to buy another one, you
Mhm.
have to write in that contingency for your home to sell.
Gotcha.
That makes it difficult, right? It's kind of a market. Any kind of a contingency makes it difficult, especially one that's you just don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of the pain points we remove is if you're approved for a buy before you sell program, we make the offer as cash,
Mm-hmm.
right? We leverage the equity in your home, like in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
get you approved and buy the home for you using our cash.
So then the first problem of why someone would need to sell their house is because there's that extra contingency potentially on that offer.
Yeah.
Uh,
And just to spend a second on that, just because what people are currently doing,
mm-hmm.
like they may make a contingent offer, but those are essentially dead on arrival. So they have to figure out another way to do it. So in some cases, they could do a lease back. Yeah. Or you actually sell your existing home
Mm-hmm.
and move into a short-term rental
Mm-hmm.
or your mother-in-law's basement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I love Wendy. I love you. No, I don't want to live in your basement. So right. Like there's all this friction involved
Yeah.
because people are generally who existing homeowners, a lot, most of their net worth is tied up in an asset, an
Mm-hmm.
illiquid asset. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a ton of purchase power, but I can't unlock that without all this friction.
Mm-hmm.
You can unlock it. It's just a real big pain in the butt to unlock.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. For those who are listening, if you're not selling your house, then I guess you could refinance or you can get a HELOC and some other things to tap into it. But it's not like you can tap into the vault that's hidden inside your house and pull some cash out immediately. And then how about just thinking about different ways and different problems that you solve? All right. If someone doesn't want to sell their house before they buy the next one, I guess I'm assuming they'd have to have an income high enough to then have their income cover that debt service. Otherwise, they can't afford two mortgage payments. And then the lender that they go to ordinarily wouldn't say, sure, you can tack on, especially here in the Bay Area, sure, you can tack on another $6,000, $7,000 mortgage payment, no problem.
And then when you factor in higher interest rates now
Hmm.
and and rising prices, home affordability is actually one of the worst, like that it's been one of the most challenging points in a long, long time.
Hmm.
So to try to float two mortgages at once, good luck.
Yeah.
Very, very few people can do that.
Yes.
But people want to move like you're rich. Like if you're independently wealthy, what do? You
Yeah.
just buy the new house.
Hmm.
You move out of your old house into the new one. And if you want to, you'll sell the old house if you
Hmm.
want at your leisure.
Hmm.
But because that's the motivating factor. The
Hmm.
motivating factor is to move.
Hmm.
It's a life event. You just had a baby and you
Hmm.
need a new nursery or you're in a school district or you're downsizing, empty nester. There's all these things that trigger the life event that's causing that.
Yeah.
That's the motivating factor. So we oriented on why do you want to move? Okay, let's help you. Let's do that thing first.
Hmm.
And then secondarily, we'll help you actually accomplish that by the necessary step of selling your old house.
No, I like that a lot. I have a 7-month-old at home, and I know that we actually ended up moving into a new apartment just because I wanted a little bit more space.
Mm-hmm.
And those life events that dictate whether it be a job change, a new addition, or change in your family, you necessarily can't have it at the perfect time that you want just because life,
That's right.
right? Okay, let's just say I had the baby and now I want to move into another house.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Okay. And so now I can work with you to go shopping for the next house. And I don't need to sell my house first.
Correct.
I can now identify subject properties that I would like and are interested in. And we would work together on formulating an offer. And we would have to agree on that offer price. Yes.
Correct.
And then from there, your team would buy the house. And so really, in whatever sense, ends up being on title for that house. And then once I sell my current house that I live in, I would then rebuy that house from you
Correct.
At the same price we bought it for.
at the same price.
But
Okay.
we're not flipping. I know you have some flippers listening, but we're not making money on the spread there. We make money on the transaction fees,
Okay.
which is no different than any realtor or
Okay.
mortgage company. Like, so we don't charge the customer like extra for like, there's all these extra fees sitting on
Mhm.
top. It just, so we're not trying to price gouge anybody right now.
And because you guys have your lending product in house, you have your partnership with the title company, and you have basically every single one of these major, additional parties that everyone else kind of get contracted out to in house. I'm not having to pay double, triple closing fees. Basically, it's subsidized in a way that makes it
Yeah, when you bundle it together, you do save
okay.
the money because everything's in-house. We're a one-stop shop.
The other thing I'd say where from a pricing standpoint, it is advantageous or the economics. When we sell your old home,
Mm-hmm.
it's typically unoccupied
Mm-hmm.
and staged
Okay.
because you've moved out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
It shows better.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? When a home is unoccupied and staged, it sells for 1 to 5% higher than market. So we're actually helping you maximize the value of your existing asset, which when you're in that leg of the transaction, that's all you care about. You just like, how do I milk this for all it's worth?
Yeah.
So versus if you have this new baby or you have like new baby's probably easier than if you have like a 2-year-old running around trying to like,
3-year-old right
okay,
now.
so 3-year-old, like, okay, now we got to clean up because there's showing coming and all this other stuff. And like that, a house does not show well if there's a bunch of stuff all over the place. So we enable you to like market your asset in a very pristine way and that to maximize the value of that asset.
So scattered Hot Wheel cars does not increase the livable factor of the sale price.
Generally not, unless you have like a very specific
Legos
target
on the
buyer.
Does not work. But what's funny is that that scenario you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's a common scenario.
Oh, I
it's
believe
one of-
it.
Yeah, common. I mean, I have a client, same exact thing, right? They had a 3-year-old, another one in tow. He kind of researched their product beforehand, and right away he saw the benefits. He did not want to deal with having to, deal with tours while the home was messy. Because again, he has a 3-year-old,
Mhm.
right, and a new one in tow, right? Didn't want to move out temporarily just to have the home marketed. So that same scenario that you're mentioning happens a lot, right? And this is the perfect product, to help people in that situation.
Okay, so make an all cash offer. How much more competitive really does that make you than using another company?
Like it depends on the market, right? And the time. A year and a half ago, I was helping a client, offers were in the double digits, sometimes in the 20, 20,
Mhm.
25 range. Because we had a cash offer in tow,
Mhm.
right? Even though we weren't the highest offer, there's I think for this one, we got third place out of 12 offers. We weren't the highest, but because we were true cash
Mhm.
closing a
Mhm.
lot quicker, we won. So it could make us competitive from that standpoint where we may not be the highest offer, but we'll win. There's certain situations where a lot of the majority of the offers come in kind of like the same.
Yeah.
It gives us a seat at the table. If all the other offers that are coming in are non-contingent or cash, it can turn a buyer who normally would have to go finance.
Mhm.
They could become a cash buyer and have a seat at the table.
Yeah. So on average,
Mhm.
cash offers win at 3x higher rate than a finance contingent offer. 3 times higher, 3 times
Gotcha.
more. So like this is,
Crazy.
certain markets, there are discrepancies, like in
Mhm.
certain pockets of the Bay Area, there's more cash buyers than other places, but just on average across the country and across our markets, you're 3 times more likely to win your dream home.
Crazy.
Yeah, but I'll give you a recent one, right? We were going head to head with another offer, right? Actually, I take that back. Sort of head to head. So we came in, we wrote a preemptive offer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Cash offer. It was a really cash offer client. While we had that offer in, another one came in higher,
Mm-hmm.
but it was financed,
Hmm.
right? I think they were like maybe 20, 25 grand higher. But because the seller really wanted to close sooner and didn't want to have the worry of loan maybe falling through, right? Even though they did go non-contingent on the financing, they still took our offer, even though it was lower.
Gotcha. No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, from an investing perspective, for anyone that's listening, you're making your offers on various properties and your goal is to remove as much friction for the seller as possible. So if you have financing contingencies in place, if you have inspection contingencies, if you have to sell your primary house first, all of that is reasons for the seller to say they may not actually go through with their offer. And so you want to remove that as much as possible.
Less risk.
Yeah. So we were talking about the all cash offer, losing offers, why it's so important. I mean, I don't know. I just think of it anytime you're buying, whether it be a primary house or even your first investment house, it's very emotional, right? You feel some type of way. You picture your kids growing up, playing outside in the street. I don't know. So how does really connect or better connect with customers in that sense? Is there a pain point that gets resolved with your process or?
Yeah, no, it's a great call. It definitely is emotional because as we were talking about, this is typically it's associated with a life event.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember back to Psych 101, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
remember that, food, water, shelter.
Mm-hmm.
This is like personal. This is Papa Bear style of like, oh my gosh, like this is a really deep, like human need to have housing.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a very a very personal thing. And we've actually done there's some research that shows that like buying this home, because it's such a stressful process, on average, and this is a real stat, 50% of people cry at least once during the process. In my like personal experience, it actually, when we bought our first house, my wife went into labor 3 weeks early because we were trying to make offers and we were losing out to all cash.
And you also had that ticking time bomb.
That's right. Yeah, we know that was the part of the problem. It's like,
Yeah.
we've got to make an offer. We need to have a house before the baby comes. And
It didn't happen.
we actually did,
Oh,
but it was very, very stressful. We actually signed the loan docs in the hospital.
man, that's fun. Because I always see, especially in the investor community, of the craziest places that people have signed a house. I remember there was one time that I almost signed one that was going to be like at a coffee shop next to Joshua Tree National Park. It's because we were trying to close on another
Yeah.
investment property, like right outside. I was like, oh, but I was going to shoot pictures out in
Yeah.
Joshua Tree that day.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should rebrand our mission as trying to like prevent preterm labor or whatever, something like that. So it's like, but part of that is like, yeah, this is really stressful because it's so personal.
Yeah.
And the deck is not stacked in the consumer's favor
No.
because the process is complicated. And then you add in these, like the liquidity issues,
Mhm.
the offer, like, or the multiple offer scenario issues. And it's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard. So if we can enable people to take advantage of their income, their assets, win the house, maximize the value of their existing asset, and actually like make it a fairly seamless process,
Mhm.
fairly easy process. It's never going to be easy, right?
Mhm.
You're still talking about buying a house, but can we make it easier? Can we make it simpler? Can we make it actually help you achieve your dream? Because
Yeah.
once you get into that new home and your kids running around and like you're like, okay, this is all worth it.
Yeah. And you gave a good stat about cash offers versus finance offers, where it's you're 3x more likely to get or win the bid. What about in terms of closing time? So how much does that now reduce? Have you guys looked into that in terms of closing on a finance purchase?
Absolutely. We can
versus-
close in 7 days.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
Right. It's like you almost can't get faster than that. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to do that. And we've done it faster. We guarantee, I think, right. We guarantee a 7.
Yeah.
What's
I think
the fastest you've closed?
I'm sure it's in a couple days. Right. I don't know the exact number, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
Okay.
in 5.
Person in a 5, but officially.
Yeah. We're not guaranteeing 5,
Yeah.
but like we've done,
You just had to. You did.
that's
You
right.
found a way.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there's still a few things. And actually a lot of those like those issues. We're not even our end. Like other people have to line up, and also the seller. Like they're like,
Mhm.
wait, I have to move out. I'm
Yeah.
not ready to move. Sometimes we will actually close faster than an actual seller wants to. They're like, whoa, slow down, buddy.
I mean, yeah, and not just because you make the offer that, "Hey, we'll close and we'll buy it in 7 days," then it doesn't mean the seller has to take it. They can always
For sure,
figure out how much.
but to what Ron was saying, it's the certainty.
Mhm.
Like the certainty just makes it such a stronger position than even a hard money loan, because the hard money loan is still like, well, there's loan docs. I thought you were just wiring the money to me.
Mhm. Yeah, it's still a loan, and so they're still underwriting
Yeah.
the
Now it closes faster typically. So like again, the
Mhm.
shorter the time frame, the stronger the offer. But if you're closing with all cash in 5 or 7 days, like that's about as strong as you can get.
Okay, so and this is the other question that I had is, what if I don't have a primary right now and I'm a first-time home
Yeah.
buyer? What leverage
First of all, 65% of buyers are also selling at the same time. This Most people are second time home buyers.
Mhm.
So this applies literally to most people. Even empty nesters, a lot of times they're equity rich
Mhm.
and income poor. And
Mhm.
they literally can't like, wow, I'm sitting on like a $3 million house in equity. I paid off, but I can't even buy a little house. I want to buy a condo. I can't
Mhm.
do that unless I sell. So this product actually works for the majority of homeowners. The cash offer, that works for the first timer. That works for somebody who doesn't need. So like really these products they work for everyone. Unless you're the 1%, or not even the 1%, like the 1% of the 1% who can
Yeah.
afford cash, like why wouldn't you use an all cash offer?
So let me just kind of uncover that a little bit, maybe get a little more geeky
Mhm.
Sure.
than
Sure,
the rest of
100%.
the show. So if we're talking about, let's just say the first-time home buyer who doesn't have a current house,
Mhm.
are you making you guys are underwriting them as if that buyer can finance a 30-year amortized loan, right? Like a traditional loan.
That's right.
But you guys are closing cash and then they jump onto your loan product. Maybe we'll start there. Is what loan products does really have?
Yeah, so we have a fixed and adjustable rate and jumbo loan,
Okay.
right?
And can you explain real quick, like a 10, 15-second definition or difference between each of the three?
I'm not a loan guy.
We'll get a little
Legal
apostrophe.
disclaimer.
Yeah. So,
But in general terms,
yeah.
your fixed rate means that your rate's not going to change over a certain period of time.
Correct. Adjustable means that it can,
Uh-huh.
right?
And then your jumbo means what is a jumbo actually? I don't even know what a jumbo means.
It's changed. I think where like the thresholds now is like $950,000 in California.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a 30-year fixed product,
Mhm.
I think it's a 5-year arm, a 7-year arm, and those are the
Gotcha.
typical products that we have
Okay.
for a conforming loan, which is below. Again, depends on the market.
Yeah.
And that changes.
And are these loan products all income-based loan products?
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. I mean, we do it. We can, if you are like a non-QM, non-qualifying mortgage, and you have
Mhm.
different types of assets, then we have partners that you can work with. We don't actually
Gotcha.
originate those loans ourselves.
Okay.
And then to get approved, right,
Mhm.
for our cash offer or buy before you sell program, you have to get approved through Reali for a convention.
Okay.
But to complete the buyback, you can use whatever lender you like. But you'll save more money, but
Okay. Of course. It's all in one shop, so there's less
correct.
less fees going outside.
That's right. That's right.
Every time somebody else touches something else, somebody else makes a little bit more money. Okay. And then what about in terms of the investors? Like what case studies or how have you helped investors in terms of just their needs that are here in the Bay Area?
Well, our core product it's meant for buyers that are looking for residential homes in this competitive market, but we can help the investors out as well. So long as the home that they want just to buy for them fits our home buying criteria, right?
Mhm.
Which fixer uppers are likely going to work for it. But whatever the investor chooses to do with the home after they buy it back from us,
Mhm.
they can do whatever they like.
Okay. Whether you're looking for yourself as a primary, you are looking to downsize and change lifestyles, and are just wanting to win in a competitive market, it's why don't people why doesn't everyone just use you then?
Just don't know about it. No, I'm serious. I mean, a lot of people who I meet, I
Mhm.
tell them just what we've discussed. They're like, this sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
And it's not. It just, as we've discussed, the home buying experience has been fragmented
Uh-huh.
and a lot of the innovation has focused on the people in the industry rather than
Mhm.
the consumer. So there's actually been a lot of innovation in real estate,
Mhm.
but it's enabling a loan officer to be more efficient, an agent to be more efficient. But what it hasn't translated into is a fundamentally different consumer experience. So yeah, it's like as an agent, they can serve more customers, but when you get into contract, it's like you get in a time machine and go back 30 years, and it's the same paper-based process where all of these actors are fragmented
Mhm.
and nobody's actually orienting around what's actually the friction that the consumers experience.
Mhm.
So for us, it's about how do we get the message out to help more people understand there is actually there's literally just a better mousetrap. Here's a better way to buy and sell a house, and this is the way to do it. Like, why would you not do this?
Yeah.
And I think once people understand what the power of these products are that solve their problems, it's actually pretty easy to change. But it just people buy or sell a house
Mhm.
on average every 8 to 10 years. So it's not like you're doing this all the time. And that's just one of the challenges that we face as a company and as an industry is how do you educate people when they're not doing this transaction all the time?
So one thing that I really learned from this conversation is one, the money that you're using in the transaction is your money. That is debt that you've secured on. That is money that's in your bank account. That's the check that you're writing to the title company to complete the transaction.
Hmm.
Ordinarily, if I was an investor or anyone who's listening who wants to buy a house and, oh man, like I'm losing to all cash offers all the time. Where are these all cash people coming from? Ordinarily, either they're mega rich, like you said earlier, or they're investors who are taking on between an 8 and 15% hard money loan.
Hmm.
That's 8 to 15% interest, and or 8 to 15% private money to then close on a house, either to flip it or as an investment property. But you're now bringing that all cash power to the average person.
Absolutely. We're democratizing institutionalization or like institutional buying. So you have
Hmm.
these large companies like BlackRock or who come in and
Hmm.
like they come in and like just buy homes in cash and probably maybe they close in like 2 days, right? They have this war chest. How do you compete against that?
Yeah.
So even if you have great income, you work at
Hmm.
Facebook or whatever, and you can put 20% down and you're still losing over and over again, like
Hmm.
it's almost unfair.
Yeah.
So part of like also what our mission is, like we want to create more accessibility. And how do you do that? By enabling a consumer to be able to compete with a bunch of other like people who are just better funded.
That is, I mean, ultimately the goal, right? Is just to make it easier. And that's what you guys are doing. And I don't know if you touched on this earlier, but what markets do you serve?
And so we are based in the Bay Area,
Hmm.
Sacramento, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And we're planning to expand into a couple more states in the coming year or so.
Okay. And just to make this, to add a little bit of value for everyone else who's maybe listening nationwide as well, in terms of the home buying process, Ron, I'll start with you first. You're trying to buy a house
Mhm.
and you've helped a lot of people buy houses, and especially a lot more through Reali. But if someone's, in another state where unfortunately Reali is not active, what are some maybe like a quick tip that you would share with a home buyer in another state?
But make sure you pick the right agent that'll work with you side by side, right? That'll look over the disclosures with you and be honest about what the comps are, right? Not sugarcoating what they think the house will sell for.
Hmm.
I'll work with buyers and they'll want to offer a certain amount on the house.
Hmm.
I'll be honest with them. If I think it's not going to win,
Hmm.
I'll tell them, but I'll show them the data. So
Hmm.
if there's one tip I can give is find an agent that'll show you the data and
Hmm.
look at the data to help make sure you write a winning offer, right? Because there's ways to look at the data in terms
Hmm.
of homes that are active in the area, how many, the inventory, how many homes are pending, because that'll
Hmm.
show you like what kind of activity is going on and what homes have sold for. Because that'll tell you what other offers might come in, potentially how many and what they might come in.
Gotcha.
Can't defeat data.
No, no. And I think one thing that I really like about your answer is now that I've worked with probably at least a dozen agents across the country, there are some that are very eager just to write your offer and won't give you any feedback. And that's the red flag for me. I'm just like, yo, why are you so excited right now? Like, there's no pushback. You don't have any, you should adjust this. You should think about this. Or better yet, don't even write on that house. If an agent tells me that, then I immediately love them
Sure.
because they're just not, you can't smell that commission breath immediately, and they wanna make it a true
Yeah.
partnership. So, what about you, Tyler? Any tips for home buyers or sellers that are nationwide?
go find our competitors. Like, I mean, like I said, there's a better way to buy and sell a home.
Hmm.
And your mom's friend, Aunt Jeannie, who you met at like a backyard barbecue a couple weeks ago, who's a real estate agent, may not be the best person to advise you on a very like you're winning your dream home with these products. Like
Hmm.
she may be, but like do your research. And there in most major markets in the United States, there are
Hmm.
companies that have buy before sell, have cash offer, and go find those because it'll actually it'll solve your pain points and it'll actually enable you to do that. When we're in those states, don't reach out to those companies, reach out to us. So we'll let you know when they come. But for now, you can go work with those competitors.
I like it. Well, let's jump into our last call. So this is the last couple questions to close it out, and then I like to ask all of my guests on the show. So this first one is just for fun. What is the most memorable drink you've ever had? And who was it with? And why was it so memorable?
Wow, I was not expecting that one.
You
Yeah.
said you wanted a curveball.
No, it's great. I love it. I
Good time then.
I can answer this two ways.
Okay.
So I'll give you two, and then you can decide if you want to
Yeah.
cut one. So when I was in grad school,
Hmm.
I went on desert survival training.
Okay.
And we were in the desert, in the desert hills in Mexico,
Hmm.
and we were looking for water. And
Hmm.
we hiked 20 miles 2 days in a row without finding water. And finally, on the third day, we found a rancid puddle of water that had like all these like decayed leaves and like who knows what was in there. And our guide taught us how to create a natural filtration system through like digging a big hole in the water, filtered through that. And we did have some bleach to make sure we actually killed anything that was in there.
Hmm.
And we drink that. And to date, that's the best glass of water I've ever had in my entire life.
God, Ron, I really hope that you have a good story. That is the best answer I've had so far on the show.
Yeah, there was a cocktail, but I mean, that was like, to me, that was like, yeah, it's very memorable.
No, yes. If I was also hiking for 20 miles for 2 days,
Yeah.
about to die of dehydration, that disgusting puddle would also be a very memorable drink.
That's right.
Before we get to your second drink, Ron, what about
I
you?
don't know if I can top that, but I'll try, right? So I don't have a memorable drink,
Mhm.
but my usual go-to drink is vodka Red Bull.
Okay.
I used to drink that whenever I would go out. But there
Mhm.
was a time where I just got away from the club scene, just stopped
Mhm.
clubbing. I just stopped drinking.
Are you back into the club scene?
No, I'm not. But fast forward to, you know, my buddy, right?
Yeah.
After just not partying anymore, Ron, come out with us, just have some fun. All right,
Mhm.
fine, I'll go ahead and go out. Again, I stopped drinking at that point. But
Mhm.
that one night I go out and I did have some drinks, got
Mhm.
super tipsy. But because of that, I had the liquid courage, right?
Mhm.
Saw a pretty girl walking out of the bathroom,
Mm.
had the courage to ask for a phone number. She's my wife.
Ooh. Do you remember what the line was that you used? Or was it just the sweet, sweet dance moves?
It might have been the sweet, sweet dance move. I think it was that.
Well, looks like your next team bonding activity. You have to have that little dance. What was the second drink, Tyler?
Oh, so it's my favorite cocktail. There's a place. So I think you said you're from South Bay. So San Pedro Square, there's a bar
Okay.
there. There's a cocktail called Fallon's Revenge.
Hmm.
And it has Saint Germain, vodka, cucumber, jalapeno, bunch of other things. And it's an amazing cocktail. My wife and I just love it. And we've basically taken that and now I reverse engineered it at home.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's our house cocktail when we have barbecues over with people at our house. So that's by
Okay.
far it's an amazing, just very well balanced, sweet, spicy, got a good kick too.
All right. Well, now that's on record. So I guess in the next really party, you'll have to
Fallon's
bring that
Revenge.
out.
That's right.
Revenge.
And what bar is that in San Jose? Do you remember?
Oh, it's in San Pedro Square, whatever the bar is.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay. So the main bar,
That's right.
that little
That's
food
right.
court area.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And then the last question I have for each of you is maybe just some tactical advice. Ron, we'll start with you first on the agent side,
Mhm.
right? Since you manage a team of agents,
Mhm.
like what separates successful agents from unsuccessful agents?
I mean, if I were to just use 2 words, hard work, that's the simple thing,
Mhm,
right? But just nurture, right? Make the phone calls, call your
mhm,
clients, keep in touch, follow up and follow through. If you
mhm,
say you're gonna do something, make sure you follow up and you follow through, with it, right?
mhm.
Because you build up that reputation, you build up that credibility, it'll take you far. The minute you stop following up and following through, it's gonna catch on and hurt.
Oh, definitely. That is my one pet peeve with anything. If someone says, "Hey, I'm just following up," and they're like, "Man, that means I didn't get to you on time, huh?"
Yeah, I mean, just to add, but I want to add on to that. So last night I got an email from the agent who sold me or helped me buy my current house.
Mhm,
Yesterday was 6 days to or 6 years to the day that I bought that house. So he just said, "Hey, congratulations," or just like how are things going. Checked in with my daughters. He knew how old they were, what grades they were in, and if I wasn't working at Reali and I was going to buy a house, I 100% go back to this guy.
that is crazy because that's not even the automated, CRM. Maybe it is, and it's just a really good,
No,
like,
no, AI is not that smart yet.
but no, that's really good. And how about for you, Tyler? Being a CEO of a tech company, what's the best business advice you ever gotten or that you like to give to others?
Best business advice. So earlier in my career, I was a management consultant
Mhm,
and used strategy. Worked at a company called McKinsey, and it's all about like people think about strategy is like what you do.
mhm,
I think about strategy as what you don't do. So, meaning that a lot of startups, you don't like, there's so many good ideas,
mhm,
but what defines a startup is focusing on what you do
mhm,
and then what you do not do and
mhm,
being explicit about we're not going to do this. We're
mhm,
not going to do this.
mhm,
This shiny object,
mhm,
let's not do. So it's all about lasering your focus. That's
mhm,
one of our company values
mhm,
and really just diving down
mhm,
on that one thing or that like those two things that you're going to do really well, and then being explicit
mhm.
about what you're not going to do.
That is very, very smart and one that aligns your team perfectly and tie that back into a real estate sense. And I'm sure you get that also with the clients that you work with on a day-to-day basis or that your agents are working with is they'll start looking at these houses out of the neighborhood that they originally talked about, right? Or hey, well, this one, well, that one doesn't have enough bedrooms. Immediately cancel out or make sure that buy box is exactly what you want and only stick to
Yeah.
that. Cause otherwise you're just like, well, that one's kind of nice too. Well, what about this one? Right. And the same for whatever team is trying to achieve anything. It's just how laser focused and how, intentional can you be about that one thing. That's actually a book, right? It's called That One
That one
Thing or
thing.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Tyler, for your time today. Where can, if people want to learn more about really, where do you like to send them?
Really.com or your local agent. We have agents like in every market in California. So like I mean, part of this is just, we're out and about. We want to meet you where you're at.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Appreciate both of your time today. And I would say that we would probably need to fill up our glasses, but
Absolutely. Okay.
cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Go Warriors.
Yes,
Go Warriors.
that's right.
Absolutely.
Wow, so I hope you found that helpful. If you are in California and you're thinking about buying or selling a house, please reach out to Really. Their link is all down below. And if you're anywhere else in the United States, I hope this episode shows that don't be scared to ask your agents, your lender, your title company, any questions you have about the process. It is confusing. There are a million steps, but you should understand each one of them. Of course, if you liked this video and you found this helpful, let me know in the comments below. I read each one and it really helps me know what content you would like to see. Lastly, I gotta ask you, if you wanna see more, you gotta subscribe. And again, big thanks to Really for sponsoring this episode, and I will see everybody on the next one. Cheers.